Go.
Okay. So can you introduce yourself again and say what you did in terms of serving the country?
Okay. My name is William Albert Schultz, Hospitalman 3rd, U.S. Navy. I joined the Navy July 11th, 1960 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. From there I went to boot camp up at Great Lakes, Illinois. And after boot camp, I went to Hospital Corps School, which is in the same area up in Illinois. After Hospital Corps School, I was sent to Panama in the Canal Zone, a dispensary in the jungle, and I spent 2 years down in Panama. I spent a year on the Atlantic side of the canal and a year on the Pacific side of the canal. And then after that tour of duty, 2 years, I was sent to the USS Boston, out of Boston. And I was on a heavy cruiser, guided missile cruiser, for 2 years. And I was discharged from the Navy July 11th, 1964. And right after that, I joined the U.S. Marine Reserve in Lynn, Massachusetts. I was with the 2nd Engineers, and I was with them for a while. Then I moved to Pittsburgh, and I was with the 12th Infantry Battalion down there. And I got discharged in 1966, finally, and I got out. After I got out of the service, I worked in a factory for about 8 or 9 years. I was a chemical, what they call chemical compounder. In other words, he mixes chemicals into the making of polyurethane foam for the furniture industry and the car industry. I did that for a while, about 9 years, and then I got on Ipswich Police Department as a reserve. I was there for a couple of years in Ipswich, Massachusetts. And then from there I went to Beverly, Massachusetts, which is a couple towns over, and I spent 32 years with the Beverly Police Department. I retired from the Beverly Police Department 2003. I retired and I moved up to Maine. And I've been retired up here in Maine. I joined the Marine Corps League because I find that the camaraderie you have with Marines is exceptional, especially after you've served with them. It's something that doesn't go away. It's hard to believe that you'd want to continue being with the military after all these years, but I do. And I like being with the Marines. I've always liked being with the Marines, and that's why I joined the Marine Corps League, and that's why I'm with them. I've been with them for about 9 years, and I find it rewarding. We do a lot of things for veterans, and all kind of things. We raise money and we give money. We raise money, we take it in, and we give it out to veterans organizations, and also to food banks and hospice and all kind of things. Like a week ago, I was at a hospice at Togus. You know where Togus is? A military hospital there, and I performed there. I do karaoke at home, so I sang there at the hospice. And believe it or not, there was 4 nurses there, and they sang. They wanted to sing on their own, so I let them sing on their own. They were great. 4 nurses. It was incredible. It was an incredible day there. I hope the veterans enjoyed it a little bit, but when you go to these VA hospitals and you see the condition that some of these military men are in, it's very sad, because a lot of them are in bad shape. And so you do what you can. And I'm just enjoying my retirement now. I live in Windsor, Maine. Anybody know where Windsor is?
I lived there for 12 years. I moved here when I was 12.
I live in 3 Mile Pond. I'm right on the pond.
My dad had a camp there for the longest time.
3 Mile Pond, yeah. I love it there.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
It's pretty isolated.
Yeah.
Sometimes weeks go by before I see anybody.
Really?
I am way in the woods, and I have one neighbor that lives there year-round down the road, and I see him maybe every other day. But other than that, I don't see anybody down there.
Do you enjoy that?
Pardon me?
Do you enjoy that?
Uh,
do you enjoy or do you...
It's kind of, it's really quiet, very quiet. Sometimes it drives you crazy. You have to keep busy.
Right.
You have to keep busy. And there's always things to do out in the country, cutting trees and raking and cutting limbs off trees and stuff. All kind of things. Point of interest, when I was on the police department, I found it very rewarding to work with dogs. I was a canine handler on the police department, and I worked with, I had a German Shepherd. His name was Rommel, and I liked that. That was very exciting, working with dogs. I had him trained really good. You have to go to, before you're allowed on the street, a canine dog, he has to go through an academy, a separate academy just for dogs, but you have to go with them. You have to spend the time with them, and I did that in Boston. I was trained at Boston Canine Academy, and that was rewarding, working with dogs. I had a lot of funny instances that happened with the dogs. I'll tell you about one of them. These three young men broke into a motorcycle shop.
I got
Keep
it.
going.
The lights just...
Shut
They broke into a motorcycle shop, and the alarm went off, so I got called to go there. Well, I announced myself when I got there, and I told them I had a dog. Unbeknownst to me, the owner of the motorcycle shop had a security dog in the building, and what they did is these three young people, they had isolated him into a room by himself, the dog. So when I went into the building, my dog alerted on that dog, and when I hit the door open, my dog went after the other dog. And so they were fighting each other. They were at each other's neck. So I drew out my revolver and I shot the other dog. And when I shot the other dog, he ran out of the building and he went in my cruiser. It didn't kill him. The bullet went through him. And he went into my cruiser. Well, at that exact time, the three guys in the building that were hiding surrendered because they thought that I shot one of them. See, they were hiding in different places. So when I shot the dog, they thought I shot one of them. So they all surrendered. That was kind of funny. They all surrendered, yeah. And the dog lived. They took him to a vet, and the bullet didn't hit any bones. It went right through him. But I had to get my dog away from that other dog, and so I just shot him, and it went through the shoulder. And he ran out the building. But then I've had other instances where things were very funny, too. I was at a school, and it was nighttime. I was on midnight day shift, and I had let my dog out to run around. I got an emergency call, so I called my dog, and I thought I heard him I had the door open, the rear door. On police cars, if you have a dog, they have a platform. They take out the back seat, and there's a wooden platform back there, and he sits on that. And there's a screen mesh between the front seat and back seat. So I thought he had gotten into the car, and I reached out and I closed the door and I took off on the call. Well, it was the kind of call I didn't need a dog for. But anyway, after the call, I looked in the back seat and my dog wasn't there. I shot back to the school where I left him, and he was walking down the sidewalk. He was walking down the sidewalk, and naturally he got in the car. But that was a weird experience.
I can only imagine looking back if it's not there.
Yeah, he's not there. I said, oh my God, I gotta get back there.
Yeah. my baby.
The poor dog's on his own. He probably says, why'd you leave me?
It's like leaving your kid at a grocery store.
Yeah, I called them, and I could have swore I heard him get into the car. So I didn't look. I just closed the rear door and took off.
That's exactly what happened in the student parking lot before I got my license. So my mom, she was rushing out, and I just put my bag in because I usually sit in the front, and I threw all my stuff in the back because she doesn't notice that I sit in the front, and she closed the door and sped off, and I was like, I'm still standing right there, and she was like, she was asking, how's your day? And she was like, I'm not answering, and she was like, what the hell is this boy not talking to me? She looked back and she's like, oh my God!
It was a shock. It was a shock. And he was just walking down the sidewalk.
I'll find him.
Yeah, he'll find me somewhere. But and after I did the canine thing for about 9 or 10 years, I went into motorcycles, and I drove a police motorcycle. That is a dangerous occupation. The reason for that is you're a small target. You're on a motorcycle, you have no protection at all on either side, in front or back, and you have blue lights on it, but motorists don't see you. You're going too fast, and they don't see you coming, or they misjudge your speed and distance. And I was almost killed twice on a motorcycle because people pull out in front of you. And that was scary, driving motorcycles. I still drive a motorcycle today. I have my own motorcycle, a Harley Davidson, but that was a very dangerous occupation for the police, driving motorcycles. It scared me. This one incident I had where I was almost killed was I was going down the street, and there was a side street, and there was a stop sign there, and as I'm going down the street, the woman didn't look or didn't see me, and she pulled right out in front of me. Well, when she pulled out in front of me, right, I hit I was going right for the driver's side of the vehicle.
That's fine.
I was going to hit the side of the car because she stopped right in front of me.
Got it.
When she stopped right in front of me, I put on the brakes and on the motorcycle, and the motorcycle slid, and I just missed the rear bumper. I just slid, the whole motorcycle just slid, and I went around the rear bumper. And when I finally come to a stop, my heart was beating so fast, right? I just motioned for her to pull over, and I went up and I chewed her out. But I was so my adrenaline was so up, I couldn't even write a ticket to her. I just chewed her out and had her go on her way. She could have killed me.
Yeah. Motorcycles are dangerous.
Yes, they are.
Yeah,
You have to be
paying attention.
in a car. I don't know. You probably notice it yourself when you're driving. Sometimes your mind wanders. You're thinking about other things and stuff like that. You can't do that on a motorcycle. You got to be alert all the time because you have no protection. You got to look in front of you, on the sides of you, in your rear view mirrors and stuff. Because if you get hit, there's a good chance you're going to get hurt. You might get hurt bad.
You sound just like my dad. He says the exact same thing. He writes like,
And you got to wear a helmet.
oh yeah, definitely.
You should wear a helmet because if you have a motorcycle accident and you don't have the helmet on and you have brain damage, you might as well be dead. And I noticed up here in Maine, you don't have to wear a helmet. But in Massachusetts, you do. And that's where I was a police officer in Massachusetts. You have to wear a helmet. And it just saved your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least if you have your brain and you're injured somewhere else, you can tell them what you want them to do. You're going to have broken bones, crushed legs maybe or something, or amputated or something. But at least you can tell them. But if you're brain dead, that's why I think you should wear a helmet.
Absolutely. I agree.
I don't know what else you want to know about me. I was born in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, and you either worked in a steel mill or coal mines. And my dad was a steel worker, and he wanted me to work in the steel mills. So he took me on a tour one time to the steel mill. One tour, and that was enough for me. I joined the Navy. I didn't want to work in the steel mills. He'd come home. When he'd leave in the morning, he had a shower, he was clean. When he'd come back, he was black from the working in the steel mills. Black. He was completely black. Clothes, everything, And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have that kind of life. So I joined the Navy.
Is that why you did? Is that that's the primary reason that you did?
Yes.
So what made
After I graduated from high school, I joined the Navy a month later after I graduated from high school.
what made you choose the Navy?
Actually, I wanted to become a paratrooper, but my brother-in-law, who was in the Navy at the time, he was in the Navy. He was on another cruiser. He talked me into it. He says, join the Navy. He says, you'll have 3 square meals a day. You'll have a warm place to sleep. You won't have to live in a foxhole and stuff. And so I joined the Navy. The reason I wanted to become a paratrooper was I wanted to overcome my fear of heights. And I figured if I became a paratrooper, I'd overcome that fear of heights.
You can't be forced to overcome it.
But where I lived in Pennsylvania, I don't know. I was very poor. The people in Pennsylvania, if you didn't work in a steel mill or coal mines, you're probably starving to death because everybody did it. The whole towns grew up around steel mills and coal mines, and it was a very tough life. There was times I lived in places that the rooms were corrugated walls. You know metal. You know what corrugated metal is? It's like a wavy metal. That's what the walls were. No refrigerator. We didn't have a refrigerator. You put your stuff outside of the door to keep cold in the winter, and sometimes the animals would steal it. And it was a very tough time. We had a coal stove. You know what a Benjamin Franklin stove is? A coal stove. That's how we heated our house. And you had to keep that fire going all the time, you know. But like I say, I was born in the 40s, and it was a tough life. I used to have to follow in Pennsylvania, I used to follow the rail cars, the railroad cars, when they'd load them up with coal. And they'd load them up so heavy that the coal would fall off the sides. And I used to follow them and pick them up in a bucket and take them home so we could have coal to heat with. And it was a tough life in those days. But I wouldn't want anybody to live like that today. But I don't know if some of you are probably in places like that too. I don't know, maybe up here in Maine, I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of poverty up here, but it was in Pittsburgh. And my dad one time got laid off of work in the steel mill. He was out for 2 years. We had to live on surplus food. Surplus food is food from the government. In other words, you go to a place and they give you surplus food that they have to live on, like cheese, milk, things like that, a lot of powdered stuff. And you live on that until my dad got back to work. And I had a sister, an older sister that was a couple years older than me, probably about 4 years older than me. And she couldn't stand that life, so she ran away. And she ended up getting married, and she moved on.
Do you have any other siblings?
No, just a sister.
How did your service affect you? Do you know what I mean? Did it have an impact on your?
When I went to the service, I thought it was heaven.
Really?
I mean, to have food every day they're feeding you. You have to stand in long lines to get fed, but you have 3 meals a day, which I didn't have before, and a clean place to sleep, and a roof over your head and stuff. It was great. I liked the military.
So what was the transition like when you left, when you came back?
Hard.
Was it hard?
I had a hard time for the kind of occupation I was in. It was hard finding a job, and it was very hard. I worked in a chemical plant mixing chemicals, and I didn't like that. But then I got on a police department, then another police department, and it was better. My son's a police officer in Massachusetts. When I left and when I retired in 2003, I pulled out my gun and took the clip out, ejected the round in the chamber, and I turned my gun over to my son, took my badge off, and I gave my badge. So he's a police officer there. He's been to the academy and everything, and he's still a police officer there, Massachusetts. Same city I work for. Yep. He's out in a cruiser. He's on a patrol division. He goes out on a cruiser and all night. He's on midnight to 8 shift. And that's what he does. And he has a son. His name's Trevor, but I don't think he'll be a police officer when he gets out of high school. He's into cyber work and computers. And he's in the junior ROTC, and he has Marine instructors. And he likes the Marines, and I think he's going to get a scholarship because he's so smart. He gets A's. He does real well in school, and I think he'll end up with a scholarship. He might join the military. You can join the military, and they'll pay for your college, but you have to agree to stay with the military for at least 4 years, and they'll pay for your college. And I think that's what he might do. And then at the end of that time, he might get out. I don't know. But and cyber computer work, it's an upcoming thing now a lot. And so I think he might go far in it. He likes it.
So you said that you really enjoyed the military. Do you think if you could do it again, you would have stayed in the military?
Yes. Probably if I hadn't gotten married, I'd have probably stayed. I'd have signed up for another 4 years. But my wife was just gotten pregnant and stuff, and I didn't want to leave her. And so I got out after 6 years. But you know, if any of you have fathers or brothers that are police officers, that's a tough life too. When you walk out that door in the morning, every morning when you walk out that door, you don't know if you're coming back. So that's a big stress. That's a big stress on your family. My kids, my son and my daughter, they practically grew up without me because I was never home. I was always working. Yeah, you have to work a lot of overtime. If you want things, like I bought my home up here in Maine, I had to work a lot of overtime to buy it.
So I don't want to cut you off.
No, that's all right. No.
Eventually your ride is going to leave. So we might want to go.
You might be like your dog and
Yeah, they might leave you behind.
Yeah, David, leave me here. I'll have to thumb home.
Yeah, so look in the back seat.
Jesus.
Oh my God.
I haven't thumbed since I left the military.
Okay, so thank you so much
Thank you.
today.
It's been great.
My great uncle, who was a Marine, he was also with